Nancy Perlman, here in the Engadin region of Switzerland. On this edition of Eco News, we visit St. Moritz and some of the other 13 villages of the area to enjoy this stunning scenery and to learn about the sustainable features of the tourism industry.
My name is Armin Bützberger. I'm the manager from Hotel Europa in St. Moritz. It's a 4-star hotel, and the hotel is owned by 145 owners. It's a real special combination. Maybe you never heard in the whole world, but it works, and I've been here now for 32 years. And our main thing is to run the 4-star hotel with some main features as special food, organic food, not engineered food at all. As you maybe already have seen, we have during winter and summertime, we have a fresh salad buffet with over 20 salads every day. We have our own chicken farm with 120 chicken, so we are quite sure, and it gives us a real security that we have fresh eggs. We have our quails, we have the solar with 120 panels, and our water, it's warmed up to 60 degrees from the St. Moritz sun. And even in our swimming pool, it's a rather big swimming pool, we have the warm up sun water from St. Moritz with our sun energy.
This track is a certified Swiss Olympic training facility, but in fact this whole area provides high altitude training for world-class athletes.
Behind me you'll see the Olympic ski jump. Now the Olympic ski jump was used in 1928 and again in 1948. St. Moritz has hosted the Winter Olympics twice and is one of only a few countries in the world that have, or a few locations in the world that have held the Olympics twice. Now on the left behind me you will see the records that were set at different times over this jump. And you can see it starts off at about 64 meters, and then as ski jumping became more advanced, more better equipment, it goes up till the last one is 105.5 meters. So it's a difference of about 40 meters in length of the ski jumps. This is the Badritz Palace Hotel. It was originally started in 1896 as the old Beau Rivage, which is this portion of the building here. Then it was developed into the palace and is regarded as the flagship hotel of St. Moritz. It was in fact the first hotel in the world to be registered as the palace.
Beautiful stonework, is that from the region?
That's all from this area. And what they needed, anything that they needed that wasn't available here, they brought in, and you can imagine how difficult that was 110 years ago. This is Via Surlis. Now, Via Surlis is the shopping street of St. Moritz. If you look around, you'll see stores like Prada, like Cartier, Versace, Trois Pommes, Churches, Gucci, just for an example. Any of the top manufacturers, clothing or fashion or jewellery, they've made it when they have a store in Via Surlis or the Bahnhofstrasse in Zurich. This here is the Plaza St. Mauritius. This is an old statue of St. Mauritius. You see on it has a high water mark. And one question I often get is, the water came up this high because we're about 60 metres higher than the lake. And the answer is no, it didn't come up this high. This statue used to be down in the Bad by the lake. Behind it is the Chiesa Comunale, which is the community house, the council. This was a gift to St. Moritz by a lady by the name of Baron Rothschild. This is the schoolhouse of St. Moritz, or the primary schoolhouse of St. Moritz. And what's particularly interesting about this, apart from how beautiful the architecture is you'll see the writing around it is all in the language of Rätoromansch, which is a local language here in the Engadin. The language Rätoromansch is best described as a hybrid between the old language of Latin, or the old Roman Latin, and what was known as the language of Rhetish. The area that was between Lake Constance on the border with Germany and Lake Como in Italy was, at the time of Christ, called the province of Rhaetia, spelled R-A-T-I-A, and they spoke Rhetish. Now, when the Roman legions were throughout the Holy Roman Empire around 2,000 years ago, the Roman soldiers were also in this area, and they tried to forcibly replace the language of Rhetish spoken by the locals with their Latin. When they withdrew back to Rome, a lot of the soldiers had formed relationships with the local girls and stayed. Eventually, this hybrid language of Rätoromansch developed. Behind me is the famous Leaning Tower of St. Moritz. Now, this tower is 33 metres high, and depending on who you listen to, it leans between 4.5 and 5.5 degrees. It in fact leans more than the Tower of Pisa, but the experts tell us it's not about to fall over. The tower is all that remains from the old church of St. Mauritius. That was burnt down in 1499, and the tower itself dates from 1573. The village of St. Moritz is in fact named after St. Mauritius, to whom this church was dedicated. Mauritius was the leader of a Roman legion who was put to death for his failure to make sacrifice to the gods before battle in an area near Martigny in the western part of Switzerland.
We're at a biogas facility where you take the waste from the dairy farms, the manure, the compost, the waste from the hotels, and make energy. Could you explain how it works?
You see here the biogas is nothing simpler than a big stomach of a cow with 400 cubics of fermenting manure and rest of the restaurant. The gas will produce to make running an engine. And with this engine we produce 80 kilowatts an hour power for the company, electricity company. What you have in a stomach is simple. You have to have something that makes running around this liquid. You have two big propellers in there, and we feed them with 8 to 10 cubic a day, about 6,000 to 8,000 liters a day with food. simple that way. On the fermenter we have a big rubber that is covered up, and there the gas will stay just for 6 hours. It can expand and then start the engine, and the engine have long runs, about 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours. The rubber is empty, and then you can make a stop the engine 2 hours, and then it start again. You start about 3 times a day, and you have 20 hours running. Produce a day about 1,400, 1,500 kilowatt a day. We produce about 500,000 kilowatts a year, and retail here is about for 45, 50 family houses for 1 year. We produce the power here. The methane gas, it's that what you need an engine to run.
We're on the cable car Moritz going up over 2 kilometers.
Now, you see here there's 2 wheels to guide the cables.
The longest cable. Hi, my name is Felix Keller. I'm glaciologist and are working here in the region of the Engadin. I'm teaching also at the Tourism Management School and at the University of Zurich. I'm teaching for education of environmental teachers, but for me very important is the development of ecotourism. An example is just starting here, the climate trail, which starts here at Moritz at an elevation of 8,000 feet. The climate trail will show to the tourists what happens in the high mountain regions of the Engadin when climate change is going on. Behind us we can see the beautiful scenery of the Piz-Bernina region, which is glacier covered. During the Ice Age, the place of Moritz where we are now was also glacier covered. We would be about 100 meters below the ice surface, and all the scenery which we can see, the lakes of the Engadin, has his origin in the glacier history. The glacier history is a part of the climate trail, and then here in the Morail Valley we have wonderful permafrost features, and at the end of climate trail we can see at the example of Pontresina how the people is here living with permafrost and avalanche problems, and we can see that they have really learned something about climate change, and they now know what they have to do due to climate change. We have now a beautiful view to the lakes of the Engadin, called the Lake of Sils, Lake of Silvaplana and Lake of St. Moritz. And these lakes, the Engadin Valley is the only valley in the Alps which has a scenery with lakes. The lakes are strongly related with the glacial history of this landscape. Here in the region we have two different glaciological phenomena. Once the glaciers. Glaciers are a phenomena of precipitation and temperature. When the precipitation, snowfall is high enough and the temperatures are low enough, we have glaciers, like for example here behind me in the Bernina region or at the Piz Giulia, where for example the glacier has lost about half of the volume, half of the thickness is disappeared in the last 20 years. The other phenomena is called permafrost, permanent frozen ground, and in the high mountain regions this leads to creeping phenomena, or in the rock area we must live with landslide due to climate change. Here the rock that you have is very old, about 400 million years old. It's from the mountain development of the Variscian time age, and then the second building of mountains occurred in the Alpine period, which ended about 7 million years before present. If we begin at the right, we can see the mountain of Piz Giulia, which is covered by a small glacier, then Piz Albanas, Piz La Greve, and just back we can see to Italy, where you can see that the geology is completely different than here in the region. Here in the Engadin we have a very old scenery, whereas the Bergell region is a young volcano region called Pluton, the border to Italy. The glacier is called Glacier of Giulia.
And how much has it receded due to climate change? How much has it changed? Have you seen it get smaller?
Yes, now we can see that the thickness is about half of, the glacier has lost about half of the thickness in the last 20 years. We can now see the Morail Valley. In the Morail Valley we have mapped within the glaciological map of the Upper Engadin, we have mapped several climatic sensitive features, like for example just in the middle of the valley rock glaciers. This is a permafrost creeping feature. Backwards of this rock glacier we can see the disappeared Morail glacier. This glacier is now only some meter square large. It disappeared completely. And if we look in more detail, we can also see how the permafrost has changed in the last year. If you look now to the landscape behind me, we can see at the right side, we can see the permafrost covered slopes, and at the left side there is no permafrost. It's nearly not visible, the difference, but if we will measure the temperature of the water sources, we can see some differences. This water has contact with ice. 30 seconds we need to measure, and we can see now we have a temperature of 36.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It will be, at the finish of the summer, it will be about 2 degrees warmer.
What do these differences tell us?
These differences tells us that in this slope we have to expect ice, permafrost ice, and this water was in contact with this permafrost ice, and so we have an indicator for the climatic conditions here in this high mountain area. The rock glacier, which is covered by debris, below the debris cover, which is about 10 feet thick, there is an ice core which is 150 feet thick. I also played here my violin, and this was also a starting point of the project Swiss Ice Fiddles, where we like to combine music with stories about climate change.
Herzlich willkommen, ECONEWS TV.
We welcome you here in the Arasax. This is Christian Elemonter. He is the leader of this whole plant, and he wants to welcome you in this plant. The Arasax is the wastewater, does handle the wastewater, the industrial and domicile wastewater from Semaden and from Bever.
The Arasax
was opened in 1983 and is now 26 years old. Since 3 years there was a change, as we did implement here the usage of the whey. Whey is a garbage product of the cheese industry. This whey comes from the cheese factory here in Bever. The whey is marvelous because it consists about milk sugar and milk acids. This can be easily transferred into methane gas. This methane gas can also be transferred into electricity and into warmth energy. The electricity gained in this power plant is about 250 kilowatt an hour, and the heating energy is about 400 kilowatt an hour.